Welcome to the Other Side Pod. I'm Nadine. We're not experts. We're just humans having a human experience we think you can learn from, or relate to, or laugh at, or cry over. So hit download, dive in, and hear how folks found themselves on the other side. Okay, we're recording. Lisa,
Yes. Hi.
who is your favorite out of our pickleball group?
Oh, that is like an on the spot. You can't do that.
Ah,
I'm going to say Christy because we work together.
damn you, it has
I
to be
know.
me. Okay, I'm going to edit that out. All right, I'll take it. She's pretty great. Okay, tell us who you are.
I'm Lisa Flanders. I'm a physiotherapist. I work in women's and pelvic health, and I have been doing that for the last 13 years. About 6 years ago, I opened a clinic with another physiotherapist called Bloom Integrative Health and Movement Center. And about a year and a half ago, we opened a second location in Stittsville. And our primary focus is women's and pelvic health, meaning pelvic floor physiotherapy. We have a team of physiotherapists, naturopathic doctors, massage therapists, osteopaths, mental health practitioners. So we have a pretty awesome, amazing team. That's who I am
Congratulations.
professionally. That's who I am professionally.
And then on your free time, you're a pickleball star.
I, on my free time, I am a part-time amateur pickleball player with hopes to be sponsored by some amateur group someday, and weightlifter and dog mom and former prairie girl. Yeah.
Love it. Imagine if, because you also have a podcast called Cliterally Obsessed, which is
Yes.
great. Imagine if both of our podcasts got pickleball sponsors.
That would be amazing because I'm going to talk about pickleball and how great it is for aging. Because as an adult, as an older adult, and I say older adult meaning like 40 plus, do we play competitive sports really? Not a lot, right?
Mhm.
But it's the agility, which I don't think I ever do, the lateral movement, the eye-hand coordination. And I always joke that one of the biggest skills I've learned this year is how to catch a ball with my left hand, my non-dominant hand. And I think that that's so great for your brain, so
Yeah,
good for neuroplasticity. Yeah, so I think it's such a great sport for everybody, but also like specifically older adults because we get to be competitive and we get to do all these skills that we wouldn't otherwise do as we get older.
I love that that's where you went for how much you love pickleball. And I'm like, it's so social. It's the most fun. I'm like, but truly, I do love that it's like you're using your brain, you're moving your body, but it's also the best group of humans.
It
Oh, I
is.
love
It
it.
is.
So,
And for me, I'm a former CrossFitter, and CrossFit for me was a very social activity that I really enjoyed. And I'm at the point where my body just wanted something different. And so, but I miss the social part. And so being able to replace that with pickleball has just been so fantastic.
sames. I love it.
Mhm.
Not sames as in CrossFit, but I equally love it. And so if you are listening and you have a pickleball thing, you can definitely sponsor my podcast and Lisa's podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're chatting about the other side of chronic pain. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for, yeah, just sharing your story with us. I'm just going to let you tell me the story.
Hmm.
What happened?
Yeah. So we're going to rewind back to 2021. Do you have years in your life that are significant to you?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
2021 was a really significant year for me. First of all, obviously, we were sort of still middle pandemic, lots of opening and closing of things. My clinic had been open for about a year and a half, which was a really hard thing to have happen. 6 months into us being open, we actually had to close, which is scary
Right.
when you're a business owner. So 2021 was like a very significant year for a few reasons. January of that year, I decided I was really going to prioritize my sleep. I was going to bed most nights around 8 o'clock, waking up about 4:30 in the morning, feeling really good. Sleep is a really keystone habit for me, especially as I get older. And I was 39 years old, so it was like my last year in my 30s. I was turning 39 that year. My good friend and I learned how to skate ski by watching YouTube videos and then just going out and trying and like laughing. We were out twice a week, just like skate skiing, laughing, falling. And a really big moment for me in skate skiing was when we could go out for 45 minutes and I'd be like, wow, we didn't fall this time.
Hmm.
So that was really exciting. I thought with skate skiing, I'm not going on a tangent, with skate skiing, she was telling me her partner would go out for like 8 kilometers. And I was like, oh, well, we definitely do that. Like we're out for 45 minutes and my heart rate is like at 185 the whole time. And then she tracked it on her Garmin and we were going like 4 kilometers. And I'm like, I can run faster than this.
I've never tried skate skiing, but I mean, in your defense, it looks really hard.
It's really fun, but it's really hard. So, you know, all the good things were happening that year. And then, like most people during the pandemic, I decided to get a dog. What a great idea, right? And I grew up with dogs. I'd wanted a dog, and that was always one of my goals. And my business coach would ask me, like, what's one of your goals? And I said, I want to get a dog. And she would say, well, what does that mean? And for me, it meant that I was in a place in my life where I had good work-life balance. And so during 2021, that seemed like a really good year for me to do that. So I ended up getting my dog in May of that year. And puppies are a thing, right? It's not, I'm not
Yeah.
comparing it to having a baby, but like the first couple months of having a puppy, it's like a lot of waking up overnight with them.
Yeah.
And you have the same type of dog as I do. And I don't know what your dog is like, but my dog is excessively high energy. So not only does he need a lot of, you know, physical stimulation, but he needs a lot of mental stimulation to stay calm. So it was a lot. It was getting up really early in the morning, taking him for like multiple walks a day, doing like agility and dog training and all those things. And just because of all that effort I was putting into him, I kind of stopped going to the gym. And I've always been a very active human, working out 5, 6 days a week, and I completely stopped doing anything other than walking.
Wait, is that also were gyms even open at the time?
They were sort of in like that open close phase.
Yeah, I think
So
most of the world had stopped going to to gyms at that point.
yeah. Now I will say that at our clinic we do have a gym space. And so I was actually working out at the clinic 3 times a week,
Okay.
lifting weights and like
Right.
decent like good heavy weights. I even bought some weights for the gym specifically, like for the clinic, specifically for me to be able to like lift the weights that I wanted to lift.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, like my CrossFit gym was opening and they were doing outdoor classes, and I kept saying, "Oh, I'm gonna bring the dog at like 7 a.m. We're up that early, anyways, and I'll just like tie him to a dumbbell, and we'll like do a class together outside." And then every day I would be like, "No, I'm not going. I'm too tired. Like this dog is killing me." Yeah, so I got him in May 2021, and then, you know, like again with puppies, like, and same with small kids, like you have to lift them a lot. And I kept saying, like, man, I'm gonna hurt my back because I'm not doing this appropriately. And it was a joke in my head. So
Wait, sorry, let me interrupt for a sec. Were
yeah,
you living with anybody at the time? Was someone helping with the dog, or was this all on you?
it was all
Because
on
I
me.
also have a pup. I had a puppy, but got to split the responsibility with David. Okay, it was all
Yeah,
on you.
it
Got
was
you.
all on me. I did have someone I was dating, but we didn't live together. And it was still all of my responsibility getting up. I was the one that heard the dog wake up, so I would get up. So sort of summer 2021, like it was just a lot of like my dog figured out that if he like whined in the middle of the night, I was going to get up and let him out. And so I really had to like kibosh that. I had to get him a bigger crate because he's a very long, lanky, skinny dog. So he only weighs 45 pounds, but he's like much larger than a lab. So, you know, kind of figured it out, got like a pretty large crate. And so he had the room to sort of like spread his body out. Anyways, fast forward to September. So now this is 4 months of me not exercising. And I'm like, it was a Tuesday and it was right after the long weekend or right before the long weekend. I don't remember which, in like August, September. And I went to the gym to do a weights workout
Like for the first time, this is your first
for
workout in like.
yep, for the
Okay.
first time in like 4 months.
Okay.
Stupidly put 200 pounds on a barbell and decided I was going to do deadlifts because it was part of my like weights routine. And I lifted the first couple and I was like, probably shouldn't do this. This is feeling kind of heavy. Did it anyways, left that workout and I was like, oh, like my SI is feeling really off. I ended up going to the clinic and my business partner had a little break in her schedule. She's like, oh, do you want me to tape your back? So she like threw some tape on it just to give it like a little hug, a little support. And it felt really good. That was Tuesday. I had it retaped by someone else on Friday. And then Saturday with my ex, we went to the cottage, slept on like the crappiest bed possible. And yeah, it was sort of downhill from there. And I was just having all sorts of like back pain, leg pain, like weird abdominal pain. Not all at once. Like it started slowly. Like it definitely started with like, oh, like some back and hip pain. I kept thinking it was just going to get better on its own. And then it just progressed from there.
So, what was the height of the pain? I guess, like, what was the point where you were like, something extra is wrong here?
So that was November 2021, where I was like, I really can't do this anymore. I had been working through all of this pain, really managing by like taking Advil and Tylenol. So I ended up booking an appointment. I didn't have a family doctor at the time, so I ended up booking a virtual appointment in person with a nurse
Okay.
at a walk-in clinic in Ottawa, and showing up to that appointment like 8:30 in the morning. And then the nurse basically saying, because one of my complaints was abdominal pain. And she basically said, well, if it's abdominal pain, you can't do a virtual appointment. And I like broke down and
Ugh.
just like lost it, started crying. She said, okay, go to like this other location of ours. They have a really short wait list. I get there. And this is still like, we're still in COVID, we're still in masks. They don't want you to wait in the wait room. So I got myself like sort of checked in electronically, standing around waiting. And eventually, like, I just asked the nurse, like, how long is this going to be? I have a small puppy at home. I can't leave him all day. I really can't stand here. This is very uncomfortable for me. Like, can I go home and come back? So she said, yeah, come back by 2:30. This is 10 o'clock in the morning at this point. And at that point, I was like, do I go to the ER? I don't even know what to do. So I ended up going back at 2:30, got in for my appointment, let's say 3:30, 4 o'clock. And the doctor, because here's the thing, like we obviously need walk-in clinics, especially for people who don't have family doctors, but when they don't know you and they don't know any of your history, and you have that very tiny appointment time with them, he ended up sending me for a ultrasound. And that was
Because you
sort of
had
like,
abdominal pain. Is that at the time, was that the most, like, is that how it was presenting? It was mostly in your abdomen at that,
it was
or were
sort of
you
like,
like,
yeah, like right lower quadrant. So like right front hip area, a little bit into like my leg as well. But like at that moment, the abdominal pain was like the most uncomfortable. So he wanted to rule out like appendicitis, anything else. I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot that goes on in your right lower quadrant. So they just wanted to rule things out.
right?
Of course, ultrasounds then take another X amount of time to book. So I think it was within about a week I was able to get in for that ultrasound appointment, and then you'll have to wait for the results. From there, I was able to book an online appointment to go over the results. And I obviously then saw a new doctor. And
Why, obviously, because it was a walk-in clinic again,
it was a
right?
walk-in clinic. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
just booked with the person I could book with. They said the results were negative and there's nothing more that we can do for you. And
Okay, what was your pain level at this time? Just so we understand. Like, if 0 is nothing and 10 is the maximum amount of pain you've ever felt in your life, where were you?
this was like definitely hovering around an 8.
Oh,
And I would
okay.
say, I just want to preface this by saying I have a very high pain tolerance. I've had surgery and not been on painkillers after. And I'm not saying that having a high tolerance or a low tolerance to pain is a good or a bad thing. We just all perceive pain differently. But for me to be in I'd never experienced this level of pain before. And then basically being told, well, your results were negative. Sorry.
Like, negative for what? They're like, you don't have an appendicitis, so bye?
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, what are next steps? And one of the things I wanted to ask them about was, so, okay, going back to I had surgery in 2018, and at that time they had given me like 60 T3s. I had
Which is
used
a Tylenol 3,
Tylenol 3
right?
like with codeine, and I had taken one of them in of the 60. And then I just was like, what do you do with these? And they were just in my cupboard for years. So like at this point, like they'd been sitting in my cupboard for 3 years. And I really didn't know what else to do because Advil wasn't doing much. So I was taking some of the Tylenol 3s. And so I asked that doctor, like, well, what they said, well, we can refer you to sport medicine. And I said, okay, well, what's the next steps in pain management? Because I'm a physiotherapist, I'm self-employed, I own a business, I can't not work.
Mm.
And that moment, I think that they thought that I was drug seeking,
Oh, gosh, right.
which to this day still really bothers me. And they basically just said, well, we can't do like I can't do anything for you. Like you'll have to see sport medicine.
Did you tell them I have Tylenol 3s and I'm taking them, or no?
Yeah, I said, listen, I've been taking Tylenol 3s, like old Tylenol 3s, but it's
Yeah.
really seems to be the only thing that's helping me right now. And I have to work. Like I don't have an option to not work because I'm self-employed. And I listened
So
to your podcast with Mandy, and she said the same thing, like that she had to go back to work because she was self-employed. Like you don't
mhm.
have an option to like
Yeah.
go on sick leave because there is no sick leave unless you're on long-term disability, but that doesn't kick in for 3 months.
So because you said I have Tylenol threes, it's the only thing that's helping me. Their fill in the blank you think was give me more Tylenol threes or the next level of
Mm.
even though you've had, well, I guess you could have made it up because I'm like, wouldn't they realize you've had these since 2018? You're clearly not some anyway.
And
Uh,
I didn't even necessarily want Tylenol 3. I maybe wanted like Celebrex or something, just something that was like higher level than Advil.
yeah.
And they just said, well, I can't do anything for you. I got very much dismissed. We'll refer you to Sport Med and go from there. Yeah.
So between September when you were doing that deadlift and you first felt your back, like I guess like a tweak or whatever you felt, to November, now we're in November, would you say on average, on a daily basis, your pain was hovering around an 8 out of 10, or was
No.
it flux?
No, it
Okay.
definitely flexed. Like there was days that
Okay.
I was like, oh, it's not feeling so bad today. And then other days where I was like, wow, this is really bad. And I was having a really hard time working.
Right, because your work is physical.
Right.
Right. So did you have to take a lot of time off?
I didn't take any time off.
Right.
Not even like a day. I
No.
maybe took like one afternoon off when there was like a period sometime in October, or even November, I had gotten a sitter for my dog, but she just could only like take care of him from like Tuesday to Thursday. So Wednesday afternoon, I like took the afternoon off just because I was like, I need a day to like
Right.
be home or do whatever. And
Day.
I will say that like sitting did not feel good either. So it's not like being off was going to really be that helpful because like sitting, moving were equally uncomfortable. So I was like, well, might as well just go like suck it up and make it through work while I wait for the sport medicine appointment.
So between September and November, before the sport med appointment, you like you're back because I know what it's like to, I don't know what it's like to have long-term chronic pain, but I do know what it's like to tweak something and then have this like it's almost like your body feels a bit vulnerable, like you move it
Mhm.
in a different way. And I've gone to see an athletic therapist for the last time I had something and it really helped. Anyway, all that to say, you moved around like this for 4 months, feeling like one wrong movement, or just depending on how you moved your body, you'd feel a jolt of pain. That was consistent.
It wasn't even a jolt of pain. Like it was just like dull, lasting pain that didn't follow normal pain patterns. So being a physiotherapist, obviously I'm very aware that like nerves, they travel along a certain route. So if you have, let's say, like a disc herniation at this level, we know where you're going to feel the pain and where you're actually going to have like dysfunction as well. So, if it's at L2, it's going to be like hip flexion that's bothersome, that we're going to have weaknesses. And one of the interesting things with this is that none of this followed normal pain patterns to like what I was taught in school, which we can talk about a little bit later because I've found that really useful now in my practice, like recognizing that we are all different, even though there's like norms, people are different.
Hmm.
But one of the interesting things is that yeah, it wasn't following normal pain patterns. So things were like definitely moving around. I'm sure taking Tylenol 3 and the Advil extra strength was also probably contributing to like some stomach issues and
Uh,
like liver discomfort because that's very intense pain medication to be taking for a long time. Like you're not really meant to be on pain medication for a long time. And once I ran out of the Tylenol 3s, which obviously didn't take very long, I moved to Advil extra strength just to get through my day. And I was going through bottles like pretty fast. And it's funny because I was actually looking for Advil the other day because I was having some menstrual cramps. And I'm like, I don't even have a bottle of Advil. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a bottle of Advil. And so the fact that I was going through it that fast, like it was pretty wild.
Brutal. Yeah, that is so hard on the stomach. Okay, so during this period, what was going on in your mind?
Oh, so a couple things had happened during that time. A, my sleep was super affected. So I wasn't sleeping through the night. B, my physical activity level had obviously plummeted like even further. Now, I will say I was very lucky that the one thing that felt good was walking.
Mm,
So walking the dog was actually like a perfect exercise. And there was times at like 3 a.m. I would just wake up and take my dog for a walk around the neighborhood.
Because that would help work out the pain.
Right. And then the other thing that happened was due to lack of sleep, I had no energy to go to the grocery store, to cook. I was ordering a lot of Uber Eats and also like emotionally eating because I was just upset and like my brain was just like not there. I really do feel, and not necessarily like right in November, but sort of going into the new year, into 2022, there was like a really big personality shift I saw in myself in a
Oh,
really negative way.
okay. So can you explain it just for people who don't know you? Like what,
Yes.
from what to what?
Yeah, so I really do feel like I'm a pretty positive human being. I don't really let things get to me that often. But when you have months and months of not sleeping, and I'm sure anybody who's ever had insomnia or pain that causes lack of sleep can attest to this, that you really, at least me, I became like a very like a melancholy human, very irritable. The only energy I would have in the day was to work with patient care because obviously that is my job and my livelihood depends on it. So I could put on a happy face for that short period of time throughout the day. And then I would go home and basically just wait for it to be time to go to bed.
Oh,
And yeah, that's like the biggest change that I've seen. And I do work with patients that have long-term pain and, perhaps are not the most pleasant people to be around, but going through that, I recognize that is probably not what their baseline is. And that's
right.
what they're now having to manage on, like they're managing pain and that's creating some personality shifts.
Oh, I can only imagine. Like, I don't have chronic pain, but I do get migraines. I've suffered from migraines since I was 20, and the ones that will take you out for 2 full days. And I have great meds for them. But when they happen, if I didn't have the medication, I'm like, I don't go anywhere without it, but I definitely have forgotten some point in the past
Hmm.
25 years. If I get a migraine and there's no way to treat it, I'm a different human. And it makes me think, I don't know how people still show up. Like I think of, I don't know, for some reason, it must have been a morning. I had one time. And I was like, I can't imagine being on morning television and having to pretend that this isn't happening because it's just all you can think about is this. To me, it feels like a drilling behind my eyebrow. So I can only imagine if that was a consistent thing and how that would shift my personality because 100% it would.
Hmm.
So did you find it changed
I don't know what
your,
happened.
I mean, if it's changing your personality, it's changing your relationships, like with your partner at the time, with your friends, with your mom. How were they affected?
Yeah, so my mom and I, we have, a mother-daughter relationship where we don't always see eye to eye. We're very different people. I know she doesn't listen to podcasts, so I'm okay saying this on the podcast.
I don't have to edit it out.
I've talked about her on my podcast, just knowing she's never going to listen to it. My mom is very much one of those people she was a single mom. She often was in survival mode. And I think a lot of her beliefs are that you just need to do what you need to do to survive. There was also when I would talk to her, she was like, well, you know what to do. You gotta think yourself healthy. I was like,
Wait, you have chronic pain, and she's saying, think yourself healthy?
yeah. And I am full on aware that there is a mental component to pain and other things in our life. But when you're in a state where you're so miserable, that's the last thing I could do. I would try, but like, no, I was so miserable that, in a phrase that became very common for me was like, F my life. Like anytime something
Okay.
would go bad, let's say the puppy was like, I mean, it's a puppy. Let's say he wasn't behaving or doing what I wanted him to do. I'd be like, oh, F my life. And
Mm.
I'm like, that obviously is also really negative. Like negative self-talk also is probably not helping, but in that moment, that's all I can do. So, I mean, yeah, my mom doesn't live in the same city as me. We talk once a week. We didn't often talk about it, but I would definitely say my friendships changed. I found myself avoiding things because I was in a lot of pain. So I didn't want to go see someone, like go out where I knew I was probably going to be kind of miserable and push people away further.
Oh, right. Because you were very well aware of how you were showing up in the world.
I mean, I was lucky that I did have a few friends that I would go for walks with. And because walks were a comfortable thing for me to do, I was still able to maintain that. I also have a very good friend who's a massage therapist that I was seeing pretty regularly for massage. So that was good. My romantic relationship, I mean, realistically, we hadn't dated for very long before this happened, and I wasn't sure if it was really the right relationship. I definitely kept it going because I needed someone to be there to help with certain things, right? Help lift things. And I also didn't want to, like, I was too tired to fight. And so I would just let fights go because I
Right.
was too tired to talk about things.
Which further exacerbates how miserable you're feeling because
Mhm.
now the person that's probably in your life the most amount of time, it's not actually, I don't think it was bringing you joy.
No, absolutely
No.
wasn't.
Are you someone that can ask for help?
No, I have a really hard time doing that. Again, so I was raised by a single mom. So she worked very hard. I was alone a lot. So I knew how to like do my own laundry at 10 years old. I knew how to cook for myself at 10. I was a latchkey kid, so I was often home by myself, obviously just watching TV and, making myself a snack. My mom was always home with dinner, so like she was not there. But
Right.
because of that, I learned how to do a lot of things. And I never really, I often didn't feel like I had someone to ask for help when I was growing up. And so I learned just how to do things on my own.
So, was this the most incapacitated you ever felt in your entire life?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of me not being able to ask for help is I never want to be a burden to someone.
Right. But yes, and not but, because I know you know this, those people in your life want to help, right? But do you think they even knew? Say your closest friends, and you can picture them in your head, like the two people that you would call today if I was like, let's both go call our two closest friends. Did they know the level of your pain, the level of your discomfort, and how low you had fallen mentally and physically in that moment or in that time of your life?
I don't think that they knew the full degree of it. Like I definitely shared with them as much as I felt comfortable, but I also didn't want to be a drag to be around because
Mm,
you feel like when you're talking about the same thing over and over again and you're like upset or complaining or I don't want to be that person.
right.
Hmm.
Did you go to therapy?
I was in therapy at the time, which was really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did have a therapist at the time. I mean, look, I wasn't seeing her for that. I was seeing her for other things. But even through that, like I would say to her, I remember talking to her and just being like, so there was a song that was popular at that time that was like, it was like, do you ever get a little bit tired of life? Like you're not really happy, but you don't want to die.
Mm,
And I felt like that. I was like, that feels so like it feels like that's speaking to me. Like I am tired of life right now. I am not happy. This is not the life that I want to be living. And so we talked about that a lot. And I mean, yeah, I was seeing her, I think at that point, like once every 2 weeks. Yeah.
so you did have someone to that you didn't feel bad burdening because you're like,
Right.
here's the money.
I know.
Now
I know.
listen.
I know. And I always say that about therapy. It's like the people I pay to listen to me.
Oh, 100%. I remember feeling like a similar way. Like I cannot keep talking about this with these people, but then I'm like, but I have a therapist that just has to listen.
Yeah. And part of it too, and I think naturally it's human nature when, someone complains to you about something, you want to sort of contribute back. Oh, yes, I had that similar experience. But sometimes you really just want someone to listen to you. And I think with therapy, that person is being paid to listen to you and not be like, oh, yes, I also had that experience. And like, now listen to my experience. So
Totally.
yeah, it becomes a really funny thing where, yeah, you do really, you are paying someone just to listen to you, bitch.
And the other thing about that is, it, depending on what people experience, like you could talk to me about having chronic pain. Knock on wood, I can't relate. So sometimes we also want someone that just gets it.
Yeah.
So I would have found that hard. Like I know when I'm going through something difficult, I just want to connect with someone. I want to read a story. I search out a book about it or an article or a podcast because if no one in my immediate circle of close people know what it is, I almost feel isolated in my feelings and in my experience. And I know I'm not. Like I know other humans have had similar experiences and felt similar ways, but I go search for them. It always validates me or makes me feel less alone in the world. Did you want that at the time? Were you like, where are my chronic pain people at?
Not necessarily because at that moment, I didn't necessarily want to listen to other people's, I mean, with the exception of obviously my own clients, but I did a support group. I don't think at that moment would have been helpful for me. But it is interesting because after going through this experience, I definitely moved from like being able to be sympathetic about someone's pain to empathetic about their pain and really truly understanding what they're going through.
Okay, what's the difference for you from sympathetic to empathetic?
Sympathetic to me is like, I'm really sorry you're going through this, but I don't have that understanding. To empathetic is, I'm really sorry you're going through this, and I understand and want to listen and validate and be there for you to share your story.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Do you have patients with chronic pain?
Yeah, quite a few.
Right.
Yeah,
So has it shaped or shifted how you practice or how you treat them?
I would definitely say it does. I mean, there's still challenges. I mean, working with myself with chronic pain, obviously there's things you can do, but you always have the energy to do those things, not always. So but I think my empathy has changed. And it's not that I wasn't understanding or that I didn't want to listen to people before. It's just I didn't have that experience of like, what does it really feel like to not be able to sleep?
Hmm.
What does it really feel like to not feel like you have the energy to do these things? To do physical
Right.
activity, to take care of your kids, like to then understanding like, yeah, that sucks. And just being like, it's okay. This sucks and it's okay.
But your treatment for your patients, for your clients, it's not different. It's just almost probably the energy in the room is different because you really can sit with them and empathize.
Yeah, I don't think it changed how I actually treat people, but it definitely changed my ability to show up and hold space for people.
Okay, so I'm going back to November.
Yeah.
You are dismissed from this doctor's office. They think you're looking for pills.
Mhm.
And so you're just kind of out on the street. Walk me through what's going through your head. You know that the assumption is that they think you're searching for pills. And you know this because you get a sense and you work in the medical field. And you have to wait for a sports med appointment that is a referral, I suppose.
Yeah, so it was a referral. I asked them to send me who they were referring me to, and then I called that office and I pulled the I'm a healthcare provider card, which I don't pull out often. And obviously, I am not saving people's lives. I am not a nurse. I am not a doctor. But I was like, I had to have this office understand that this was affecting my life. And so as soon as I got the referral note, like I think that day or the next day, I ended up calling the clinic I was referred to, which luckily was also through a physiotherapy clinic. And I said, I have this referral. I want to make an appointment with this doctor. And they said, okay, well, we can get you in. It was going to be 10 weeks. Yeah, it was going to be February 25th was like the first appointment date. And I said, okay, well, I'm a physiotherapist. Like I am having a really hard time working. They were able to actually move that up by 2 weeks. So I still had to wait 8 weeks.
You still have to wait 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So those 8 weeks, you're miserable.
Yes. Yeah. And I did have a little bit, I remember around Christmas, I had a moment of like, I remember New Year's Eve that year, we had some friends over and I remember being able to perch myself on a couch where I was like, okay, I'm not in pain at this moment. So I can enjoy this scenario. But like you said earlier, there was that, well, if I move this way, is it going to come back? Like if I sit in this very specific position, I was okay. But if I move this way, is it going to come back? So I was very mindful of that. But I do remember actually not having much pain on New Year's Eve. And I will say at that point, I had also started having my own treatments, my own physiotherapy, osteopathy, and I was having hours of pain free, not days, but hours, like maybe 3 hours, where, oh, I could go to the mall and walk around and do my Christmas shopping. And I was feeling okay. But yeah, it definitely wasn't like all the time. And I was still having so much problem sleeping.
Okay, so here's what stands out for me. Bless you, because you're talking about from November to a February, whatever, eighth appointment, and you can pinpoint one time where you sat on a couch and were like, oh, I feel good. Like my heart, right? Because you were having pain so consistently that one moment in those 8 weeks really stands out.
Mhm. And again,
Ouch.
walking, I was pain free. So I would take the dog for
Okay.
an hour-long walk every day. The problem was I was also exhausted. So I'd get back from that walk and then like I couldn't sit on the couch. So I would
Right.
the floor with my legs up on the couch. That's a position we actually give to clients a lot. or I would lie on my stomach in sort of a sphinx position. I would do work that way. So I could find pain-free positions. They just weren't the most ideal for working. I figured out how to work on my back with my legs on the couch. I'd put a pillow behind my lap, a pillow behind my head, and I could work that way on my laptop for a few hours and be comfortable. But then coming out of that position, it was like the thought of it was really scary because I knew that it was just going to come back immediately and it wasn't going to be long lasting.
And it must have also been so infuriating that you work in the medical field, you know the body inside and out, you help others through medical challenges, episodes, medical situations, chronic pain, and you couldn't figure out what was wrong with your own body.
Yeah, and that was what the most frustrating part was because, again, nothing was following normal pain patterns. And so I was like, what is going on? I don't know what to do. So, yeah, it was.
And sorry to cut you off, you were
okay.
going to physio, an osteopath, like a where else were you going? Or was that was
I had seen a chiropractor and I've had good experience with chiropractors before, and that particular experience wasn't a good one. I had massage therapy. I actually even went to see a shaman because I was convinced that like maybe there was like something else going on, and this was like completely on like a totally like I had to write something. So I went to go see a shaman to see.
What was that like? We cannot just skate past that.
So it was actually someone I'd seen a couple of times because I'm very much the type of person, I will try anything once. I find body work and energy work very fascinating. And I love, like, I've seen a numerologist. I find it super fascinating. Do I 100% believe in everything she's telling me? No. Is it a little cheaper than going to therapy? Yes. And it's fun.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know I've gone to have my tarot cards read. I love going to things like that because I think it's really fun. So I'd seen the shaman a few years prior, and that it was a really interesting experience. She took me on this whole journey and into my like lower world, like my mid-conscious. It was really interesting. And I'd seen her actually again at one point right before the clinic opened, just again, because like I was like, oh, I just need like an energy reset. And so I called her and I was like, I need to come see you because I was convinced like I'm clearly holding something in my hip here. And so she did her whole thing and she was like, it was interesting. There was like a centipede like on your hip. And I didn't tell her anything in advance. I was just like, I need to try this and just see. And I was like, maybe I need to like make amends with people. Maybe there's something I'm holding on to emotionally from my past. And I actually did. I had a really good friend that I felt like there was a situation that had happened that she was a part of that we had never really addressed from 5 years prior. And so I messaged her and I said, hey, if you have time, can we FaceTime later on tonight? She's like, yeah, no problem. She has young kids. So she was in the basement doing laundry. So we're just chit-chatting, catching up. And then I brought up the scenario and I said, I really feel like I never apologized to you for that. And I'm really sorry. And she was just like, oh my gosh, Lisa, I didn't even know about it. Like, don't worry. But it was just one of those things that was hanging very heavily on me. And I felt like, okay, maybe I just need to apologize to this person because I'm holding on to this tension from that experience. And it's just now manifested. So
I knew I liked you.
Yeah, so
I knew I liked you from the moment I met you.
So I tried a lot of things in that time. And again, I was getting sometimes temporary relief from physio, temporary relief from osteopathy, but nothing long lasting.
Did you get temporary relief from apologizing to your friend?
I didn't. And I wish I had gotten more, but regardless, it felt like it, for me, strengthened our friendship. And we've been friends now going on 33 years. We met when we were 10 years old. We travel together every year. And so it was just a nice way for me to feel closer to her again. So I'm still happy I apologized for that scenario.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're seeking out all kinds of help and assistance in the medical world. And sometimes it's like a little Band-Aid, but the reality of your situation is not shifting. It's not changing. So,
right.
Okay, so I guess we're now in February and you finally have a sports medicine appointment.
Right. And leading up to the sport medicine appointment, I actually was hanging out with a friend of mine who is a doctor. And I would never ask her ever to write me prescriptions because I feel like that's not like something I want to do with our friendship. But I sort of mentioned, I'm seeing sport med in 2 weeks. I'm really hoping we can do something for pain control. And she was like, oh, I can write you, like I can get you to that 2-week period with this prescription. So she wrote me a prescription for Celebrex.
What's Celebrex, like a muscle relaxant?
Celebrex is just a higher level, like Advil. It's just like a
Okay.
higher level one. You can't be on it long term. You definitely have to have your liver checked if you're on it for long term. But I just needed something to get me to that appointment. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if you have healthcare, like health insurance.
I
So
do, yeah.
often when we get prescriptions written, your insurance will not cover the name brand of that prescription. They will give you the generic.
Yeah.
Now, oftentimes that's okay, but there are many times where the generic is not as effective as the name brand. And so when I had taken that prescription in, they gave me the generic, whatever it's called. And I actually researched it and I was like, oh, this is not the same as the brand name. But at that point, I couldn't do anything about it. So unfortunately, it did not help. Like I thought, I thought it was gonna be like this miracle to give me some pain relief. And again, I'm not a big believer of like, let's take pain control medication long term. I am a believer of like, let's do something for pain management so that you can do the things that you need to do to heal your body, so that you can move in the way that are good for your body, so that you can add muscle strengthening in, that you can add more movement in, so that then when that pain medication is removed, we've helped with inflammation, we've helped with strengthen muscles, we've helped relax muscles that need to be relaxed. So it was just really unfortunate that I didn't get any pain management from it. So then I go to the sport medicine appointment. So February, I don't remember the exact date, but sometime in February. And then he's like, okay, well, I think that's a herniated disc and we need to go. Now you need an MRI. Like, why is it that I have to see the sport medicine doctor first to get the referral for the MRI? And that couldn't have happened in November. I don't understand. So now this is just another waiting game. And he's like, well, come back after you get your MRI booked. Well,
how long does it take to get an MRI in Ottawa?
At the time, it was like 3 to 4 months. And I was like, I literally cannot live like this anymore. So I paid for an MRI on the Gatineau side.
Right.
So
how much did you pay? Do you mind me asking?
It was a little over $800. And so my birthday is in March. It was my 40th birthday. My mom, for my 40th birthday, gave me some money, which was really sweet of her. And I was like, I'm going to buy an MRI with this. Wow, so exciting. So that's what I used my birthday money for. I mean, listen, I'm 40 in my 40s. My mom doesn't often give me gifts like that, but it was a big birthday. And she was like, oh, I sent you some money to do something nice with it. And I called her and I was like, I'm just so you know, I'm going to get an MRI. Done.
With happy birthday. I mean, it kind of tracks for 40th birthday, but I feel sad for you that you're in that much pain. That, not that you had to spend your birthday money on it, but that you just were like, I cannot believe I haven't been offered this yet. Or
no.
And also I'm like, right. And you're, I hope this doesn't sound like it's like blaming the victim, but you're in the medical field. Like you have more knowledge than most people in this moment, but you don't know what you need because you cannot figure out what it was. It's not like you could go in November and say, I know I'm going to need imaging. I know I'm going to need this. Like put me on the list for this. I know I'm going to need sports med. So if you don't even know that, like ouch for somebody else going in that has no idea. Like,
absolutely. And I do not blame family doctors. I do feel like their hands are tied to some degree, that they cannot necessarily order imaging unless it's warranted. But then it seems to me that we are wasting healthcare money by now I have to see the sport medicine to get the referral for the MRI. Then I have to go for the MRI and then I went back to sport medicine. Where it could be, I have the referral to the MRI and then I see sport medicine and we're like eliminating a whole appointment.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was frustrating. So I did pay for an MRI. I went to Gatineau. I'd never
How
had
long did
that was about it. I was about a week and a half wait from when I phoned them pretty quickly because I was like, I'm not waiting. And it's hilarious because I did end up getting the MRI like appointment like sometime in April. So it was about 2 months that I would have had to wait. So I was back in sport medicine by March 25th.
Okay.
And yes, like herniated disc.
Herniated disc, which means what?
So it means that your disc, so between our vertebrae, we have these fluid-filled discs that allow us to like bend and stand and move in different ways. And essentially what happens with a herniation is that inside fluid or like the gel gets pushed out, kind of like a jelly donut. That's how we sort of explain it to people. And then when you do things like bend, it presses on the nerves. So it creates this nerve pain. And it was like a severe herniated, like it's hilarious. Because I paid for it, I actually got images of my MRI and they're on my Instagram. And like, I was very briefly taught how to read an MRI in university, like 10 years earlier. And it's like very obvious. I'm like, oh, there's a herniated disc. Okay, I can see it.
Wow. Okay. What do you do for a herniated disc?
So that's where we go back into like movement, muscle strength. I always start people in that scenario with like, I call it positions of ease. I was already doing those things. So Sphinx pose, like standing extensions, lying down with my legs up, things like that, because you're trying to reduce the disc, muscle strengthening. And it's essentially what we do. So things I had already been doing with no relief. So I want to say, I think at that point I talked to the doctor again, and then I ended up getting the actual prescription for Celebrex. I got him to write on the prescription, no substitutions. And the only reason I know about that is because I used to work in insurance and I know how you get around the pharmacy giving you the generic is your doctor has to write no substitutions on it. So he gave me a prescription for Celebrex, a prescription for muscle relaxants. Again, not really doing a whole heck of a lot. I would definitely say things started to improve a little bit, but like definitely was not pain-free. I also at that point, like in February, March, I was like, well, I clearly have to do some sort of physical activity. So I'm going to go to the gym and do things that feel okay. So walking felt okay. So I decided I was going to try to do some very lightweight sled pushes. Those also felt okay. So I was like, okay, great. I will come to the gym and I will do this for 10 minutes a day.
Right.
Right.
Because you
Fine.
wanted to build back strength, hoping that that would heal your body over time.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then at some point, things got a little bit better. And then I think I tried to do too much. And then things got significantly worse, where then I could no longer stand up.
You couldn't stand up?
Yeah, I would try to walk the dog and I would have to go on my hands and knees on someone's lawn because I needed a minute because I was just in so much pain. And
Oh, God.
I remember calling my neighbor she's an ER nurse. And that's not why I called her. I called her because she had a dog that was the exact same age as my dog. And I was like, you need to bring your dog over because my dog needs to get some energy out and I can't walk. So she came over and I was on my hands and knees in the yard. And I was like, I'm just going to be like this because it feels okay. And I said to her, I'm like, what do I do? Do I go to the ER? And she's like, no, no, no. They're just going to give you the same things you already have. So she ended up making me an appointment for acupuncture with one of her friends who's an acupuncturist for the next day. So yeah, things got better, then things got worse. And I think what happened was when I tried to push things a little bit too much, and remember the derecho storm we had?
Yes.
Yeah, where like it was fine. It was a long weekend in May. Everything was fine. And then suddenly like trees were down all over the city. So that day we had been planting hedges along the front of my fence. And
You
I
and your
think,
neighbor?
no, me
Or
and
you and your boyfriend?
my boyfriend at the time. And so he had been digging the holes, but then I think the storm had happened, but then we had all of these massive holes that were on the street side. And I was like, oh, this is a liability I want to deal with. So as soon as the storm was over, I was like, get them in the ground. And I was like moving trees, like on my hands and knees. And it was right after that things got worse again.
So
Yeah.
is this the third time, like the third episode of getting, like it was the immediate episode,
Yeah.
then I'm walking my dog, I'm hands and knees on the lawn, and then acupuncture, it starts to feel better, and then this is the third?
No, this is the second. This is before the acupuncture. But I think what had happened was I was getting a little bit better. I pushed it far too far. And then I just had made things significantly worse. Like I called the doctor's office again because going back to like the original doctor that thought I was pain seeking or like medication seeking, when the sport medicine doctor offered me opioids, I said no because
Right.
I know I have addictive tendencies. I was a smoker for many years. And I was like, I don't want to go down that road. Like, I don't even want opioids because I'm like, so that's where I'd asked for the Celebrex, like the brand name Celebrex. But he'd offered me opioids and I was like, nope, I do not want that because I know me and it could turn into a slippery slope that I don't want to be part of.
Yeah, they're scary.
I called back and I was like, oh, can we re-examine those opioids? Of course, he was on holidays then. And I was like, so they're like, oh, well, we'll get him to get back to you when he's back in 2 weeks. And so that's like, after that, that's when I was sort of back on like that hands and knees, couldn't walk. Yeah. My neighbor making me these acupuncture appointments.
Did they give you relief?
So this is the interesting thing. I saw the acupuncturist, massage therapist / acupuncturist. I went for one appointment on a Monday and she booked me 2 appointments because at this point I was supposed to be leaving to go out of town the following Sunday. And I was driving to Winnipeg. I was supposed to be driving to Winnipeg.
Oh, that was not happening.
Right. Right. Like I was like, I can't even sit in a car. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So because I was going to be going away, she booked me an appointment on the Thursday as well. And so I went for the Thursday, like the Monday appointment. I got home. I was like, man, okay, like not really noticing a difference. I was upright at least, which is positive. And then I went to that Thursday appointment and I actually haven't had pain since.
What?
I know. I think it was just like this inflammation that needed to be calmed down. The acupuncture calmed it down enough. I was very, very aware of my body and how I was walking. I took the dog for a walk when I got home and I was like, okay, I have no pain right now. I'd had that before. So I'm walking the dog. I see my neighbor and she's like, oh, you're standing. And I was like, yeah, I'm standing. I'm being very ginger. We're walking very slow, but I'm walking. So that was on Thursday. So then Friday comes and goes. Saturday morning, I wake up. I say to my boyfriend, I don't have any pain today. Like I have no.
Ah,
Sunday, we leave to go to Winnipeg. I
the
somehow
two of you
the
and
two
the dog?
the dog. And of course, we get this massive detour the first day. We end up in the car for like 12 hours. But I had no pain and like I have not had pain since. I was very, very aware of my body and walking very gingerly for a very long time after that. Not trying to push myself, but yeah, after that second acupuncture appointment, I haven't had pain since.
Oh my God. Have you gone back to acupuncture? Is that something you keep up consistently?
No, I haven't been back. I thought maybe I would go
And
like when I came back from my trip and then I was just like, well, I don't know, I don't have any pain. So
wow.
yeah.
So there's no more imaging to get. A part of me would be like, I want to see that my back is okay because I think I'd always be a bit hesitant. Like you, now you do a lot of things beyond walking the dog. Like you play a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pickleball. I mean, it's
Yep.
pickleball sponsorship, and you lift weights, and yeah, you do a lot of things, and your
Yeah.
job is physical. Are you nervous?
So I will say it took me a long time to get back into the gym. So now we're in June of 2022. I go to the cottage. I'm at the cottage. I'm walking the dog, and that's really all I'm doing at the cottage, nothing else. And get back. I want to say it wasn't until like 2023 that I tried a CrossFit class again. I went back and did some weightlifting, I started very light body weight. Like, how does my body feel when I do this? And I want to say 2023, I tried a CrossFit class again where I modified everything, and even I used it for a long time because I was also then at that point feeling very out of shape. So I used it as like, oh no, I'm still recovering from a back injury. I'll just do step ups instead of box jumps. And I used that for a very long time. And but like focusing on weightlifting mostly and just sort of doing like the occasional very light modified CrossFit class until the gym opened that we're both at. And then like really started feeling strong enough last year to be able to lift weights and get back into weightlifting. And one of the reasons I decided like CrossFit was just going to be at least on pause for me for a while was because I was like, I need to lift weights in a way that feels safe. And I still don't really feel safe underneath a barbell. So I
Mm,
don't really want to do barbell squats. I don't really want to do deadlifts with a barbell. I have done deadlifts with a barbell, much lighter than what I've previously done, but I just need some machines. I need some other things, right? That I feel
yeah.
safer doing. So I feel safer doing a leg press right now than I do doing a barbell squat. But I'm very comfortable doing lunges and hip thrusts and like still putting a lot of weight on, but just being, for me, it feels safer right now.
Do you ever wear one of the weightlifting belts or like you before you taped up your back? Do you have any supports like that or no?
Yeah, so I used to always weightlift with a belt. So if I was
Oh,
doing squats or deadlifts, I was always in a belt. Now that I'm back to lifting a lot lighter in terms of barbell movements, I don't belt. So like if I am going to do deadlifts, I just go light enough, not light. And when I say light, I'm talking like I'm still at the 200-pound mark. Like it's not like this
are
is
you? You're
light,
deadlifting
light.
200?
Yeah, like I can deadlift 200, like I feel very confident deadlifting 200 pounds for five, but my max is like closer to the 300 range. Am I ever going to get back to that max level that I feel confident? Maybe, maybe not. And it's okay. Like I can also move my body and lift heavy weights in a way that I feel safe.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're doing that, when you're lifting those heavy weights now, your back feels great.
Yeah, I feel fine. I don't have any concerns. I definitely for a long time had some residual like right leg weakness, but I wouldn't say it was pain. Like for a long time, I had what was called like a foot drop on my right side. I did see a neurologist after things were better in August of 2022, and he was hilarious. And he was his name was Dr. Pierre Burke. He's at the Civic. He is like the most wonderful human I'd worked with in this time. I had a great sport medicine experience as well. But he was, I was like, I'm a physiotherapist. He's like, oh, okay, I'll make sure I explain this very well. And I was like, I appreciate that. But he, they did the neurological testing and he's like, yeah, you have a foot drop. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, you don't have any pain. So like, we're clearly not going to do surgery. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I just came for the appointment because I had it.
What's a foot drop and what the hell
So
caused
yeah,
that?
so a foot drop is when like it's a nerve. It's when over time when we have a nerve injury. So what was happening was that my foot, I was having a hard time like with dorsiflexion, so like lifting my toes up.
Okay.
And it was actually causing me a little bit to trip for a while. Like I'd have to be very aware to like lift my leg up, especially at the dog park or on trails. And so yeah, so nerves just take a really long time. Peripheral nerves can regenerate. They just do it at a very, very short rate. I don't remember. It's like something like a millimeter per day or a millimeter per week. It just takes a really long time. So, I mean, it's been 3 years now, and I would say there's still little minimals. I feel like if you compared left and right foot, my right foot's not going to lift up as much as my left, but it's much better than it was. Yeah.
So you don't still trip?
Oh, I still trip, but that's just because I'm clumsy human.
Wow. I knew a part of your story and I knew I wanted to chat and hear it mostly on here because it's nice to get the reaction in time. And I'm just still sitting with the fact that you just dropped, like, I go to the second acupuncture
No,
appointment and I've never had pain since. And
I
that
know.
was 3 years ago.
3 years,
3 years.
3 years, 3 months ago. Yeah. I'm not saying that acupuncture was like the key. I think it
No,
was
you were
like,
doing a ton of things.
it was like I was in this high inflammatory phase and inflammation can really affect our body as well. And I think it just calmed the inflammation in a way that it needed to be calmed. And then because again, I know my body, even going on the road trip 2 days later, I had 3 or 4 things in the car that I could use behind my back to find comfortable positions. I still, to this day, I drive with a back support in the car. It sits on my car seat. So if you ever look in the window of my car, you're gonna be like, why does she have a ball in her car? So I have this small half-inflated ball. We have them at the clinic. They're called Corgius balls or core balls that you can inflate them and deflate them, and you can like sit on them and lie on them. So I have one that just hangs in my car,
Right. So
and it's just
you're
always there.
you're doing all the things and you'd been doing all the things that you need to do that were already in your toolbox and seeing all these medical specialists to work on this and right. And then the acupuncture was just the right treatment at the right time. And then you were like, I feel better. I don't have pain. I don't have pain. And then slowly got yourself back to doing all the things you knew were going to be good for your back and for your body and for your mental health. Right.
Right. Yeah, and there was like I mentioned the foot drop there. What I couldn't sit in long sitting for a long time. That's when you like sit with your legs out straight. I just didn't have the range of motion in on my right side because I just hadn't been able to do that for so long. And so I had to work up to that hamstring length again. And I had to work up to being able to like bend over and touch my toes again. So until I could do a lot of those things, I wasn't even like a lot of my initial weight training started at body weight. And I had to just see how your body feels to do a lunge. See how your body feels to do an overhead press with like a 10-pound weight. And then you can increase from there. And I very slowly over the last 3 years have increased to where I am now, which is still not where I was, but it's a lot closer.
So, how long did it take your mental health to not catch up to your physical health? Because your physical health took time,
Hmm.
but and maybe I'm perceiving this wrong because I'm from the outside and looking at you. To me, your mental and your physical health match,
Oh, thank you.
right? Like as much as I've gotten to know you over the past while, did that take a long time? Am I perceiving it right? I suppose I should say. And then if they're parallel lines, if they're like if you're cross country skiing and your right ski is your physical health and your left ski is your mental health, how close were they? And how long did they take to kind of connect or get to the same level, get to the same place?
So the mental health, one of the big things was I was catching up on sleep after. Like I was just
Mm,
exhausted for a long time. And so as much as I was moving forward with the physical health, the mental health, it was probably moving at the same rate, but it was a different thing. It was like that catching up on sleep, you know, finally being able to like move again. And for me, as much as sleep is my first keystone habit, my second is physical activity. So if I can sleep well and have be fairly active, I'm pretty much good mentally. And I think that that's the case for a lot of people, maybe not everyone, but definitely the case for a lot of people that I know. So yeah, it took a really long time to get that sleep back. Like I was still really tired for a very long time where I didn't necessarily, again, going back to the relationship I was in, I just didn't want to argue. So sometimes I'd be like, oh, whatever. And like, just I didn't want to have those conversations because I was tired. And often we would start having these conversations that I didn't want to have at 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, I just want to go to bed. That's all I want to do right now.
Right.
So yeah, so it was challenging. That part was really
So,
challenging.
yeah, I bet. But sleep wise, the minute your pain dissipated,
Mhm.
your sleep didn't improve right away.
It was almost like I had this backlog of like sleep debt I needed to catch up on, which I know we actually can't catch up on sleep debt, but that's what it felt like. Like suddenly I wanted to sleep for like 9 hours a night because I could.
Right. So you're so tired because this has been a long time now. And then you're in this relationship where you're like, I'm too exhausted to even get out of this relationship or have the conversation to prove to me that I should not be in this relationship. How long did that go on for?
Like another six
Uh,
months. Yeah, about another six
okay.
months. And then I just was like, I really just need to take care of myself right now and not be a part of this.
Right. So, and that affects your mental and physical health as well, you know? So, when you get yourself out of that, do you feel a bit lighter?
Oh, yeah. Like immediately that night, I went like straight to bed. Like we ended it and then I went straight to bed. I had like a glorious sleep. I started seeing friends again, like immediately. So the next day, and this was already planned, a friend of mine who I hadn't really spent a lot of time with in like the previous year, like we went and took a woodworking class together.
You went and took a what?
A woodworking class. We
Oh,
made like
you
a
took work?
charcuterie.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah.
you started to get yourself back, like
Yeah.
piece by piece, friend by
Yeah.
friend, activity by activity.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely took time. And, I've now sort of turned into a person that doesn't necessarily want to go out on the weekend. I do really value my sleep a lot. So I don't necessarily want to go out like late on the weekends. I'm very happy if whatever we're doing is over by 9 o'clock
Same.
because that sleep is so important to me. It's so important to me now.
When you look back over from 2021 to now, what was the most challenging piece of it?
Honestly, was the lack of sleep. The lack of
Right.
sleep and just really feeling like this melancholy, like just this, I wasn't the same person that I used to be.
How long did it take to get yourself back?
I would say it's honestly just been like the last 2 years. So it probably took a solid year to feel like I could laugh at something again, or, I felt like I wanted to be around people regularly.
Do you remember looking at yourself in the mirror in the middle of it and not recognizing yourself?
I just knew like mentally I didn't recognize myself. Just the person that like when I would wake up and I said like sort of my tagline from that year was like F my life. That's not the type of person I am. And so it would come out of my mouth and I'm like, where is this coming from? Because this isn't me. This isn't.
And when you're in the middle of something, which is why I like to talk about these stories, because you feel, for me anyway, I know they're going to end. I do. Deep down in every cell of my body, I know things don't last forever. But without a end date, without a doctor being like, hey, Lisa, by September the 17th, you're going to feel amazing. It's so hard to make it to September 17th. And
Mhm.
there's always that day, whether it's the day you went to acupuncture or the day you got out of that relationship and you went to bed that night. There are those TSN turning points.
Mhm, absolutely.
You literally just have to trust that they're coming. Um, yeah, it's so difficult to be in it. And then when you look back from the other side of it, do you see how it's changed you in a way that was unexpected?
Like again, I think it's just helped me with my client care. Just having that increase in empathy, really being able to show up and hold space for my clients just in a way that I probably couldn't have 5 years ago.
What about friends?
With friends as well. And obviously, as we get older, our friend groups get smaller and smaller. I also recognize that people that I want to spend my energy on and that the people that maybe I don't want to spend my energy on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I don't,
wait. Yeah,
So
sorry,
some of
go.
that, I mean, some of that also might be that like I am over, like I'm in my 40s now as well. So I think that that's helpful. But yeah, just the people that were there for me like throughout to some degree, those are the people that I know are like my ride or dies.
Yeah, I get it. I wanted to touch on this because we talked about this quickly the other day
Yeah.
when we were playing pickleball. I'm just going to say it. The medical field wants to change the term chronic pain to persistent pain.
Yeah, definitely in like the rehab setting. So, and this isn't new. So, we definitely in like the rehab field, when we talk about pain science, we try to move away from things like chronic pain to, and we want to instead call it, oh, persistent pain. Or there's like, instead of saying like cumulative trauma disorder to, describe like a tendonitis, we want to say, oh, like instead of calling it trauma, we call it a repetitive strain disorder, right? Because the word trauma, when we're describing something like, oh, you have like a shoulder injury, it's a cumulative trauma disorder, can sound a lot more scary than saying, oh, it's a repetitive strain disorder. So it's similar with chronic persistent pain. So when I was going through school like 13 years ago, it was very much like, oh, we don't want to call it chronic pain, we want to call it persistent pain. And it's interesting because after going through an experience with, and I will say that mine was persistent pain. To me, chronic pain is something that people potentially at some point have to learn to live with.
Or you mean?
Sometimes, like
Yeah.
like learning to manage, maybe not all the time having pain, but okay, what are the things I can do to manage my pain? What are the things I can do to like still be active? Learning how to plan and pace their day. But I think if we call everybody that has longer term pain, if we say, oh, it's just persistent pain, it seems like it's not validating to what that
Mm,
person is experiencing, right?
right.
And I don't like that because if someone had said, oh, well, this is just persistent pain, you're gonna get over it. I was like, okay, like, do you want to walk for 5 minutes in my shoes and see how this actually feels?
Hmm.
Because it's not, yeah, okay, I get that it's persistent and it's persisting for longer than what injury should normally persist for, but this feels pretty terrible. And so to me,
Right.
that's not a validating thing for us to, I think we need to use like the terms sometimes that the people use with us. So if they're saying, oh, I have chronic pain, yeah, okay, maybe we also have to get them to, look at it in a different way. But I think it's okay for us to say like this is chronic pain. Because
Yeah.
I think we need to
Fair.
validate people. And that's the other piece too, just quickly about imaging. So typically when people will say, oh, like, they're seeing me for a while. Oh, like, do you think I need an MRI? Well, often how we treat things as in rehab is not necessarily going to change with having data from an MRI or like an ultrasound or an X-ray, because I'm treating that person's function. So in my case, like I couldn't like bend over. Okay, so I'm going to treat that person's function and help them to either be able to bend or like going back to like positions of ease. So extension feels really good. So we're going to do a lot of extension in the meantime. So I don't necessarily need an MRI to help me guide my treatment. But after having an MRI and being like, oh, there's a herniated disc, it felt very validating that I knew it wasn't, I said I went to go see a shaman. Like I knew it wasn't in my head. And that for me
Right.
was validating. And so
Right.
I'm never going to say to someone, no, I don't think you need an MRI. I might not need to look at the MRI, but like if that's going to help you feel validated, I think that that's okay.
Yeah. And that so that has shifted because before you didn't feel the same way.
I was very much, well, because we know that imaging can show things that are not a problem. And so anybody over the age of 40 who has an MRI, not anybody, sorry, 50% of people over the age of 40 who have an MRI are going to have some level of like osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease. And all of these terms just mean your body is getting older,
Yeah.
right? So I don't necessarily like need to tell someone like, oh, like if you MRI'd my back right now, I'd probably have some level of or my body. Let's just say my whole body goes for an MRI. I probably have osteoarthritis somewhere. Like I am 43 years old. Do I have pain right now? No. I also am very much aware that like that's what happens when our body gets older. But then what happens is you sometimes get people that come back and they go, "Oh, well, I have like degenerative disc disease." And it's like, "Well, yes, like your discs are getting older. That's just what happens." And it's then the question becomes, "Are you in pain?" Okay, if you're not in pain, I can still help you be strong. But we don't necessarily need to like worry about the fact that there's
Right.
osteoarthritis or degenerative discs, as long as you can still be functional in your life and
Yeah,
do the things
fair.
you want to do.
I went to a dermatologist the other day because I had these two. I mean, I'm very freckly, and I had two freckles that I was like, are these changing? And anyway, I had a biopsy, and luckily it's all fine. But I go because I had the appointment, and it's hard to get an appointment, or it takes a long time to get an appointment. So I kept the appointment, and I just said, you know what? Just check my skin, make sure I'm not missing anything else. And I said, I did have one other thing on my neck and she literally within a second was like, it's age. And I was like, how dare you? But yeah, I get it. Luckily, I'm so thankful it's age, but I was like, right, I'm 47. These are these appointments now. Do you think this is something? Age.
Yeah.
Like and I was doing a deadlift the other day and I was like, oh, when I'm lifting heavy, I find this kind of hurts my back. And a friend of mine was like, yeah, because we're old. I'm like, oh gosh, damn you.
That becomes a lot of my fallback of like, oh, oh, I'm sore. Oh, it's age. But listen, like if you have osteoarthritis and this is affecting your ability to do something that you want to do, I can absolutely help you with that. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's just age. No, I will find ways to make you feel better. My mom has osteoarthritis in her knees and she lives in Manitoba, so very dry. And then she goes down to California, very dry, like desert part of California in the winter. And she's always like, oh, my knees feel so good when I'm in California because it's so dry. And so I always I do joke with people sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'll just give you a prescription to you need to retire down in the south, in the desert. Yeah. But I mean, if you want to be able to like squat and you're like, oh, like this really bothers my knees. Okay, well, maybe we need to strengthen certain things, or we need to change how you squat, or we need to try a variation of a squat that's different, right? So I'm still going to help someone if they're like, oh, I have osteoarthritis. So I'm not going to say, oh, no, that's just age and that's normal. But when it becomes a problem with imaging is that when you don't have a concern, like let's say you're getting like, I don't know, you have an imaging done and they're like, and you don't go in with pain and maybe you go in with another concern. And they're like, oh, and you also have osteoarthritis. Then people start to get really nervous. Oh, well, no, I can't do anything at all. But you still can because you didn't have pain before.
Yeah, fair.
Right?
Fair.
And so I know that there is like, we are just mindful with imaging. Some of the things that show up like are just supplemental. Some of the things that came up in my MRI, like I was like, oh, whatever. Like, yes, that came up in the report. I knew it wasn't what the concern was.
Right.
Right.
Is there anything, before I let you go back to your clinic and your busy day, is there anything that you would want people to know if they have someone in their life that experiences chronic or persistent pain? Is there anything from an inside perspective that you could say?
I think my inside perspective probably would be more for people who are in a chronic pain phase, trying to focus on like one thing a day that you can do that's active. And I mean, that can be something as little as like doing a 10-minute yoga video, stretching, taking your dog for a walk. So something that can help you be active, because I think that is really important for the mental side, the mental health piece. And then I always say to people, find at least one thing a day that helps you manage your pain. And that can be smoking a joint. It is okay. It can be going for a walk. Like in my case, it was going for a walk was really helpful at the beginning. So it's okay to like have vices though too. Like if smoking a joint helps your pain, well, that's okay too. So we want to be able to manage the pain. We want to be able to challenge the pain. So yesterday you walked for 10 minutes. Can you try 12 minutes today? And then, something that you can do that feels good for you. Right. And I mean, it might not even be movement. It might be, for me, it was lying on my back with my legs on the couch, lying on my stomach in a Sphinx pose and working those ways. Like you'll find those positions that are pain-free.
Was there ever a moment when you were in one of those episodes that you were like, this is never ending. This is my life now?
Oh, absolutely. Every day I thought that. Because I'd never had, I'd had little tweaks here and there in my back. They always sort of resolved themselves within like 10 days. And so for something that like wasn't resolving, I was just like, this is now how I'm going to live for the rest of my life.
And you were like, I'm going to be miserable.
Yeah, I'm going to be a miserable human being for the rest. And like, obviously at some point I would have like hopefully been able to at least manage the pain. I was just too early on in that journey to be there yet. Right. Whereas people who do have many years of chronic pain, they do eventually learn to manage their pain or get used to it or name it or whatever they do. But yeah, I really thought that was going to be my life.
Well, I'm so glad it's not.
I'm so glad it's not as well.
You're an absolute delight. I'm just so glad I started playing pickleball and you came into my world, and now I get to see you
know.
like 3 times a week.
I know. I'm so lucky. This is great. And I love your podcast. I think it's so fantastic.
Thanks, Lisa. Equally love yours. I'll put it in the episode notes.
Amazing.
And to your clinic, actually, because
thank you.
You are doing amazing work. Okay, I'll talk to you probably tonight.
Sounds good. We'll chat soon.
Mwah. Bye.
Okay. Bye.